Hi, my name is Brent, and I will be going over the features of EzBEER from a very high level. If you'd like to take a closer look, we have more detailed videos on each of the sections that we're going to be going over. I'm also going to jump around a little bit, but I'd like to start with the company and product setup. So this is your company setup menu option on the left. We can set up our company profile, address, logo, website. Company users, you can have as many as you want. They each have their own permissions. Payment info, that's just for EzBEER. Invoice template, so for the bars, restaurants, distributors that you're selling beer to, you can build a invoice template that goes out automatically as you make deliveries. Warehouse locations, so wherever you're storing beer, you can manage multiple locations. And your discount codes, if you have any, you can add them here. Next is beers. So here's where you create your beers. You'll start with your beer styles. So you can just add any styles that you brew and click add beer style. Then create your packaging types. There's a drop down to choose from of all the most common. And then you go ahead and create your products. On the bottom right, there's a button. It says add product, add a name, choose a style, description, and then the various packaging options that you package this beer in. So half barrels, you can click the plus sign if you're going to also do cans, for instance, and then add that product to your list. So that'll be all your beers there. The other setup would be the accounts. So anybody you're selling beer to, if it's a distributor or if it's just a bar or restaurant, they're all set up here. One thing to note is shelves on site. So this will show you how many shells that account should have of yours. So every time you make a delivery, it'll drop off a shell and increase the number. Every time you make a delivery and return shells, it'll decrease the number. So it'll give you exactly what they should have on site to help you keep track of your cooperage. Okay, so that's the initial setup. Now we're going to go into production. So the production module is the biggest module of EzBEER, and this starts with its own setup process, which is essentially setting up your categories of your raw ingredients, so grains, hops, and so on, the vendors that supply those ingredients, and the actual products themselves of Biofine, Cascade, Chinook hops, and they each have the vendor and a category. So once that's set up, we can then add our inventory. So we just add it by lot. So as raw ingredients come into the brewery, you add your lot, click here, pop-up will come up, quantity ordered, the cost, any other costs you want to associate with it, if there's a surcharge or freight or anything like that you want included in the cost of goods, you can put that in there. And then you add the inventory lot. Once it's added, it will track how much you have remaining based on how many batches you have used with that product. We operate our inventory on a first in, first out FIFO process. So it'll automatically use the oldest products that you have. Once the lot is all done, it'll move over to the used tab. So recipes, we do our recipes in a way that shows the 4 basic stages of brewing. So first is mash, kettle, fermenter, and bright. So on each section or each tab, you'll have additions. So you can select from your products what you're going to be adding, the quantity, any notes, and you save it to your list, which is your list of additions. If you have any targets that you like to track, for instance, strike water temperature 154, to make sure the brewer knows, you can add that there, and then any other instructions or notes you want to make sure the brewer can reference. Kettle whirlpool, same thing, add additions, any targets that you want to include, and then any instructions and notes. Fermenter, same thing, we have the the dry hops and anything else you want to add, again, target instructions. And lastly, bright tank, so if you have Biofine or any other items that you want to add, again, you have your additions list. And that's how you build your recipe. We will assign a cost for each item, so it'll give you a cost per recipe, and this will be 1 turn of your brew house. We do all our recipes based on 1 turn of the brew house. You can add multiple turns if you are brewing multiple batches to fill a larger fermenter. Once the recipes are done, now we can start adding batches to the brew calendar. You can do that from the brew calendar tab or the batches tab. Each will bring you to the same place, which is the brew calendar. Brew calendar will make sure that you have tank space when you want to brew. So I'm going to just pick a brew date of 10/3. Are you transferring to a bright? Yes or no? I'll say yes. Then it'll give me the transfer date, the packaging date, which fermenter I'm using, which bright tank I'm using, and if the tank is unavailable, it will be grayed out. It won't let you select it. Create a batch name, a color, and then which recipe are you going to be brewing. And here's where you can add multiple turns for multi-batches. So if you're going to do 3 turns, you can add as many as you like here. You would need to name each one, and then you save that batch. And then that will show up on the brew calendar like so. One thing to note, that if there is beer in tank, it will give you the cost of that beer or the value of that beer based on the recipes. So that gives you your work in progress if you're tracking inventory. So once a batch is created, it goes to the batches screen. So these are basically in the queue, getting ready to brew. As soon as you are ready to brew a batch, on the right side, you click Brew Now, and that will pull the inventory out of your inventory. If it's red, the button's red, that means you don't have enough inventory, and you're going to need to go in and add a lot of inventory to cover whatever you need. If it's green, you're good to go. And once you brew now, you will come to a screen like this. It has this header information, so the batch name, recipe, yield, cost, your kettle runoff, your brew date, transfer date, and so on. It'll also, once you get to your packaging, it'll give you your cost per unit. So not just your cost per barrel, but your cost per half barrel, 6-stole, and any other way you're packaging. So down here looks just like the recipe. This is essentially just like when you're cooking in your kitchen, you have the ingredients and then you have the recipe. So we have our ingredients here. We know it's going in the mash, and then any notes that were on here, it doesn't look like there was any on this one. And then any notes that the brewer wants to add, if they needed to modify the recipe or make any changes last second, they can add it there. Kettle whirlpool, same thing. This does have the kettle runoff, so how many barrels are going into the fermenter. And then again, brewer's notes. For dry hopping, we pull the hops out of inventory once we get to this point. So at this point, the brewer will go into EzBEER, go into their batch, and add the hops. This button would be highlighted, add to batch, and then that will pull the ingredients out of inventory and add that cost to the total cost. Bright, so here we can add, this has hops going into the bright, or you can have biofine, or whatever the recipe calls for. And we can add that to the batch. And that is red because we actually don't have this amount of product in inventory. So it's telling you to go add that to inventory, come back, it'll be green. And then packaging. So here we can select half barrels, 6-stoles, cases, and this is pulling from the beer list that we created earlier. So which beer is this going to, or brand name are we using? This allows you that even though you're brewing Hugo's Blonde Ale and this recipe, you could still private label this for another brand if you wanted to, if you're maintaining inventory of that brand. Okay, and then you save it, and then it'll also give you the cost per unit. So that's the production process. As soon as you package, it'll automatically feed into your finished goods inventory, which is here at each of your locations, and it'll show all locations added up. Each of these numbers that are blue, you can click, and you can see any kind of changes to that inventory, whether it was packaged from production, or if there was an adjustment. For instance, if you click that button, you can increase or decrease your inventory ad hoc, as whatever you need to do there. Okay. And let's see, orders. So now we have beer in inventory, we can start selling beer. So this is our current orders screen. That just means they have not been delivered yet. Archived means they've been delivered. So here's 2 current orders. So we can deliver the beer by clicking on the little truck. I'll go ahead and deliver this one. So this is where we can also tell the system if we are taking back more shells than we're delivering, or vice versa. So it'll do the deposits for you. Sign order. So this is where you can have the manager or whoever is delivering. If it's your driver, he can sign, or a manager can sign. And then complete and send invoice. So this will automatically send an invoice to everybody that you have signed to this account, including anybody in your company. Okay, so now that order is now over here. I see that there's a green note. If there's a green note, that means there's actually a note on it. So please drop off in the back. If it was red like the other one, that means there's no note. So those are our orders. Now that we have created and delivered an order, an invoice was created. Here it is. This gives us the information on the invoice. We can view it with the eyeball. We can send it email to whoever we want with a little paper airplane. We can mark it as paid. We also have integration with QuickBooks Online. So if you're using QuickBooks Online, this will automatically sync as well. Then we have reporting. So we have production by batch or by product. So this will give you the information you need to report to TTB, ABC, that kind of stuff. And lastly, if you ever need help, we have the support email button here.